What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into an episode of 3B with just 2Bs. Oh, man. What's going on, Marv? It feels like forever since we've done this. I know we got a little crazy. You had a lot of kids' youth baseball tournaments to attend here recently.
Yeah, still going too. We've got a Little League district tournament, which we're hosting here at our local Little League next weekend, which is really cool. But yeah, baseball season is winding down for college and youth around here. But man, it was fun to watch a ton of we didn't have a tournament this weekend, but we got to watch a ton of really good baseball this weekend, which was fantastic.
Nice. And you said you got a really nice local facility that you guys are playing out of too, right?
So we just opened a new park a couple miles from my house. Two brand new baseball fields. We've got room to expand. We're looking for a private donor. If anyone's listening, it's got about $5 million sitting around they'd like to give to us so we could build a real phenomenal stadium for the youth kids here in Johnson County, North Carolina. We'd appreciate your money.
Nice. I like it, man. I like it. We knew this guy was coming in. Ben James saying, "What's up, y'all?" Even though A-State's not in it, man, he's still coming in and jumping in on the show. So appreciate that, Ben. And hopefully, I think what's cool about what you've just talked about with watching a lot of baseball and being involved with this, like we have been throughout this season, specifically a little bit more this season, luckily, but with some players and some coaches that have gotten on, is there's a lot of people in the sunbelt that are kind of cheering for our teams. Like I'm wearing the Chanticleer shirt that we all got one of, and it's kind of cool to see. And I think a lot of people were cheering for both teams. Obviously, there's a few out there who aren't going to do that, but I think it's kind of cool to see everybody kind of rally behind. And Marv, I want to get your opinion on this before we get going any deeper. Is this the hardest postseason in college to win?
I think the NCAA tournament basketball is just because you have to play so many games, right? And you have to play so many different teams. It's hard to get a read off of, when you're playing a different team every day. But it's pretty difficult. I mean, we talked about it all the time. Baseball is just a finicky sport, right? Sometimes you get the right arm on the mound. Sometimes you get the wrong one. Sometimes bats get hot. But, every sport you got to play your best at the end. But baseball is a hard sport. But going back to what you're saying about the Sun Belt, everybody pulling for everyone. I don't care who you pull for. You got to be proud of the way that the Sun Belt home venues represented the belt. Like the atmosphere at the Pete and down in Conway was just phenomenal. I mean, it was as good as any regional that you saw. Just everybody was into it, especially when their team was playing, and especially in the finals. It was just a really good showing for the Sun Belt and how passionate the fans are and how nice the stadiums are and how great the programs are.
Yeah, and a quick reminder that the two teams that hosted ended up being in their regional finals.
Yeah.
Which should also cement in most people's minds, okay, we know how the SEC did this week. It should cement in most people's minds that Troy deserved every opportunity to be in that field because we're proving how good this conference is right in front of people's faces. So I will agree with anyone who says those are the only three that deserve from the Sun Belt. There's really not, I don't think, a whole lot of representation from anybody who was clamoring for a fourth team to make it in. Had they won the tournament, obviously that could have been different, but our two best teams ended up in the championship and both represented very well in their home regionals. Unfortunately, Southern Miss falling just short, so we could have had two. I mean, that would have been pretty cool, right? Two chances in the Supers.
That would have been fantastic. I really wish that Coastal would be hosting because I think the atmosphere there would be electric. I mean, obviously they're going to Auburn, and that's going to be fantastic, but it would have been nice to have a Sunbelt team showcase hosting a Super. But and like you said, I think Troy should have got in. I mean, you're talking about a team that was ranked top 25 the entire year, drop a series to Southern Miss, who's a top 15 team, probably didn't play as well as they thought they would have in the tournament, but they could have easily been a 4 seed at some regional. It's a little disappointing, but wish we could have had a Super that we're hosting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Southern Miss was so dang close too, right? I know you fell out. I was in and out towards the end of that game, but I did wake up to see that 2-run home run to cut it to 1 run. And man, I was like, it's tough, right? For those that didn't stay awake, Southern Miss was down 5-2. Yeah, 5-2. And then they hit a 2-run bomb in the bottom of the ninth with 2 out. It was rough because, like, the guy coming up to bat has a lot of weight and pressure on his shoulder at home to deliver that big moment to get you back in the game. And unfortunately, the way it stacked out was that it was a player who hadn't seen the field a lot for Southern Miss. So on top of everything, it's not even like your tried and true home run hitter or a guy who gets on base all the time, unfortunately. That's just how it worked out. It was always going to be a tough hill to climb. But they made it exciting. I mean, they made it exciting right there at the end of that one, and they made it exciting throughout the weekend with how they played. Obviously, dropping that first one to Columbia. A little surprising, although a lot of people had Columbia having a chance in that first game, though, Marv. I think at least I had seen some of that around.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about philosophy. Like, you're the 1 seed, you're playing the 4 seed. You're going to play – if you win, you're going to play your 2 or 3 seed. And if you lose, you're going to play your 2 or 3 seed. So they didn't throw Middleton. Which I don't know if that would have made a difference, to be completely honest. But I was surprised to see them drop the first game, but then to battle back 2 in a row to make it to that regional final. And then they were down 5-1 at one point, I believe. It was a 1-1 game. They gave up 4, I think, in the 5th. But to battle back, it says a lot about the program there. And once again, when they would pan to the outfield and just all the trucks and tents, I mean, what a cool atmosphere.
Yeah, the Roost, as they call it. It's a pretty cool nickname. I mean, they showed a couple close-ups throughout the weekend of the treehouse. Essentially, and it is great because the commentators were like, I'm not sure if they built the treehouse on the truck or if they built it over the truck once they got it there, or if they just pulled the truck up underneath it. It's like, it's so great, just this kind of confusing people because it looks so cool. You're like, I don't know. But they were essentially shouting out the engineering, right, to do something like that. It's not necessarily the easiest. Oh, this is awesome. Zach, the host from the basketball show, jumping on saying, "Chance up, baby." That's what they do down there in Conway. So absolutely, man, they're going nuts down there in Conway, and rightfully so. So let's get to it. Coastal Carolina is super. I was hoping, like we said, we could have said this for 2 teams. Unfortunately, it's only 1, but Coastal Carolina, man, they are looking absolutely phenomenal. I know we have both talked about hoping getting down there. Had they hosted a super, I would have been doing whatever it took to get down there this weekend.
Are they they're like 20 in a row right now, right? Like they've won a tremendous amount of baseball games in a row. We were talking before the show, 51 wins is the most in the country, but just wrap that around your head for a second. 51 wins. That's incredible season. And I know we're going to pick super winners here in a second, and I'll save the drama. I don't think they're done, man. I think they're going to Omaha.
21 wins in a row is what it's at right now.
That is nuts.
27-3 at home. And we'll just jump into this real quick. Auburn, who they match up with, right? 28-6 at home. So we got 2 really good teams playing. And note, Coastal 18-7 on the road. So also very good on the road, especially because if you look at their road schedule, again, Southern Miss, Coastal Carolina, Troy, just to name a few. I mean, you could put Texas State up there as a teams who've really challenged themselves as far as schedules go throughout the season. So, you can look at a lot of other mid-major conferences that are below the sunbelt and say, well, they padded their record and their schedule with easy wins and stuff. These teams at the top of the sunbelt do not do that.
Nope.
In fact, a lot of teams get a jump in the ratings just for playing a Coastal Carolina, a Southern Miss. Troy was kind of on the cusp, right? Sometimes they were giving people a bump and sometimes they were taking them down just because, unfortunately, as we know now, they couldn't get any sweeps going this year. So that kind of hurt them. But these other 2 teams were definitely helping people up. And Texas State was too a little bit, although they had they just had a weird season. And we'll see if Artie jumps on. Maybe Artie's completely done with baseball at this point. We'll have to see what transpires with that. But how did we get here? Conway Regional against the number 4 seed in the regional, Fairfield, who I really didn't know much before. TJ had told me that they're up that way. They're up in the Connecticut, New York area, and they crushed them. 10-2, wasn't much of a game, easy start. Can't remember if I watched too much of this one. I think by the time I got to watch some of this one, it was already like, all right, yeah, they're going to win this one. Like everyone kind of expected, right?
No, I don't think anyone thought Fairfield had. I mean, listen, everyone's got a chance, right? But that was what was expected. What was surprising to me was East Carolina just come off a really, really big win against Florida, convincing win to come out and beat them 18-7 in the second game. That was very impressive, in my opinion. It just kind of, I don't want to say that you knew before they went into that last game, because the last game was an absolute pitcher's duel. Both of those guys were phenomenal, but you just kind of had the feeling that Coastal was rolling and there wasn't anything that could stop them.
Yeah, definitely not. And I mean, I was going to ask you about that because you had grown up an ECU fan, right? I mean, is that kind of self?
I grew up a mile and a half from the baseball stadium. We used to ride our bikes there when we were kids. The outfield at East Carolina is known as the jungle. They sell season tickets there now, but back in the day, you could just walk back there. People had built up little platforms so you could stand up and watch the game from the outfield fence. And I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old and out there with grown adults that were really enjoying themselves with the beverages and just giving the outfilders hell, to be completely honest. And growing up playing baseball, like my dream was to play baseball at East Carolina. That's what I wanted to do. But ECU has been a phenomenal program for a very, very, very long time. And they played really well in this regional. And like I said, that last game, I mean, Coastal scores the only run in the bottom of the 8th. Both pitchers that went out there to starters threw over 7 innings and were just completely lights out. That's the way a regional final should be. Very similar to the Southern Miss Miami game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I was going to touch on, just from an outside perspective, was the atmosphere of ECU bringing a good number of fans.
Yeah,
they didn't take over or anything crazy, but they travel well. It's not that far of a trip. Nope. They're traditionally a very good baseball program. So it was very cool to see these two schools going at it like that. I know that they've had matchups in the past and everything, but this one was a little bit more meaningful, especially for ECU too, right? They were one of those teams that kind of got into the field last minute. They weren't necessarily, in fact, I think if I remember correctly, they would not have made the field had they not won their conference.
Yeah, they got hot really late in the season. I think the beginning of the season, they had a lot of injuries, and the middle of their season was kind of reflecting the injuries that they had. I think a lot of their pitchers weren't 100%, but as they got healthier, they played better baseball. And you saw what happened when they got healthy. I mean, that Florida team that East Carolina beat twice, it's a pretty darn good baseball team.
Yeah. Well, so let's jump over to that real quick. I am not going to play the audio, as I told Marv. We got some language that you can hear. I just don't want to get kicked off anything, really, frankly. But you can see kind of some of the mannerisms here with the Florida coach. Is I believe Kevin O'Sullivan. Is that his name?
O'Sullivan, yeah.
So it's not too telling in this view here, but you can still see he's a little bit more rigid in the body language, and everyone else has got, the site people are there. At least one's kind of watching over the other just to make sure nothing goes wrong or transpires too badly. But he's ripping into them. For those that haven't seen it, if you want to hear the uncut version, you can go onto Twitter and find this by searching Florida baseball coach. It'll come up real easily when you find it. But he was letting them have it. And a lot of that had to do with, I guess, really a game going late and then it affecting their schedule for the next game, which would be, I guess it was a noon game that then got changed to 1 o'clock. So it didn't even get changed dramatically, but it did get changed. And here's another one.
Here's the other one, and he's hot.
You can really see the body language here at this one, and the guy's looking at him like, dude, I'm not going to walk away, but you're just going to rip into me like that. I don't think he could even believe it. And the way look at his.
He did a really good job of holding his composure, because you got another grown man in your face ripping into you like that. It's very easy to want to fight fire with fire.
Yeah. I want to actually just keep playing that one, because it's just, you can tell everything you need to know. Like a picture says 1,000 words. Well, this is a live video, or not live video, but this is video of it as it was happening live. And you can see the players, all of their attention is turned here.
They're like, oh crap, coach is hot.
Yeah. I'm almost like, I don't know. Maybe you can speak on this a little bit. Like you do some of the coaching stuff. You're obviously not getting into these situations at the youth level, at least hopefully, Marv. But none of his players come up like, "Hey, coach, calm down. Like, like it's gonna be all right. Like we can deal with an hour delay." Like I think they could have helped diffuse the situation. Although, I don't know. What do you think? Are they worried or concerned at that point that they're going to put themselves in harm's way? Like coach saying, "Well, you're not. You're going to sit the bench now because you've made me mad too."
So my initial thoughts on that is twofold. Number one, either they 100% agree with him and they're just letting coach get it out. Number two is they've seen that before, and you don't get in the way of that man when he gets angry like that. Those are the two ways that I look at it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that second one the most, right? Like I think I had a Marine Corps father, and so when somebody did wrong and he was ripping into someone, you just kind of let it go.
Yeah,
like you said, let him get it out and just get it over with.
Yeah, you don't want the anger to get displaced on you. It's like someone else is taking it now.
No, not at all. Dominic Ambrose saying, "What's up, guys?" Hey, Dominic, thanks for joining the show. You hit it on a good spot, man, because there is audio that we will hear, and this is from head coach of Coastal Carolina, Coach Schnall here, and let's see if we can hear what he had to say about this interaction and his thoughts on it.
I have to say this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I believe in standing up for what's right, and what transpired this morning on our field. Another coach disrespected our associate AD, who works as hard as anybody in our entire program. He disrespected our field crew, who are the salt of the earth. These guys would do anything for our program. It's not okay. And this needs to be brought up. Absolutely disrespectful. As a coach, it's our job to mentor young kids. And the way he treated the 2 site reps, the way he treated our associate AD, the way he treated our field crew is absolutely unacceptable. And that's what I'm most disappointed about. This is a national champion coach who thinks he can come in here and try to bully people around. Disappointed. Disappointed, somebody that a lot of coaches look up to. For him to act that way, really disappointed. He disrespected a Hall of Fame coach who's the site rep here. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. He didn't mince any words there, right, Marv?
No, not at all. I have a feeling that if he would have been on location when that had happened, that could have been more newsworthy.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame him. I mean, I retweeted that actually once I had seen that clip, and I said, I love every second of what he has to say here, because he's standing up for what's not only just right, but he's telling you the honest truth. Why do you think he was so passionate about that? Because he believes everything he just said about all his own guys. They work hard. They've done everything they can do.
Because the Florida coach did that to people that he works with every day, that he has respect for. And to see someone disrespect someone that you work with and you have respect for, unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's why he was so passionate, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could visibly not only hear it, but you could visibly see how he wanted to slam his fist down into the table as he's talking about this, man. That really upset him. And, I can understand why. Look, you've worked tournaments as a coach. I've worked tournaments as an official. Like, people get heated in those moments when something changes and they don't like it, or a call doesn't go their way. So in one respect, you understand being upset. That's not the issue here. It's the way he treated people when he was upset, right?
Yeah,
and the fact that there's 2 whole separate situations, right? Those videos that we saw, the 2 of them, were totally different locations. So it's not like it.
I don't know how far they were apart, right? That one conversation could have happened 3 minutes before the other conversation, and the emotion just spilled over. But the reality is, if he's angry about a time change, it affects your opponent as well. It's not like you're the only one that's being affected by that. So it goes both ways. But yeah, I mean, the first video that apparently has some colorful language to it, I haven't seen that one. That was the first time I've seen it. I'm going to listen to it. But the second one, when he's aggressively pointing and like walking around that guy, that's a bad look.
Yeah, it's just overboard. I mean, I would say I heard also too, and this part necessarily was not captured, at least to my knowledge, on video or in audio form, but there was people in attendance that heard him make remarks to an ECU player who had something, a leg amputation that causes him not to play. Apparently, he does this huge whiteboard thing, and he told him to take that whiteboard and shove it somewhere, and then called him out for having a robot leg or something. Like that's literally, again, how much of that part is true or what? But I mean, it's been more than one person who's talked about some interaction between him and ECU players. That's not the staff. He's not talking to the staff like that. He's talking to the players on the field because he's upset. I don't know.
You saw what happened in that Duke game earlier this year where I can't remember what the other team they were playing, but the head coach of the other team said something to the Duke player. And Coach Pollard from Duke ran out there and was like, "Do not talk to my players." That
was
is
it you?
It might. I can't remember who it was, but that's a goal. Like if you're going to talk to an opposing team's players, it can only be encouraging. Like you can't dog them, right? Like that's just. And as a coach, if another coach had talked to one of my players like that, that's an issue. Especially a guy that's an amputee. That was so. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a big time recruit.
Yes.
And he got in an accident and lost his leg. ECU did the right thing. They kept him on scholarship. He's actually played for them this year. And just that story alone, like a guy with one leg playing top tier Division I baseball, like that's a great story. And for you to make fun of someone like that, if that's true and there's actual audio of that, that guy should be absolutely ashamed. And the AD of Florida might need to look at whether or not, I know he's won a national championship. I know they're a great program. But if that's your character as a human being, I'd revisit my coach. I mean, that's just, and once again, that's all speculation. Not sure if it's true.
Right. Exactly.
And you find out that that's true. That's wrong.
Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody who is of high character, Artie has joined the show. He is still around here, so hopefully he's at least enjoying some baseball, even though it won't be his own Texas State Bobcats, unfortunately. But we'll have to see.
I don't think the state of UTSA is the representative from the state of Texas that is left in the tournament.
And that doesn't make Artie feel any better because that is a heated rival.
No, it doesn't. But all the big Texas programs didn't make it through. Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, it's insane what's happened to that and the SEC. They were the power guys and everything. Speaking of that, let's jump back into Coastal Carolina going up against Auburn this weekend in the Auburn Super Regional. Man, I understand it, but I really don't like these 9:00 baseball starts for me.
No, I do not. I'm assuming my geography is not phenomenal, but I'm assuming Auburn is an hour behind us on the East Coast. So it's an 8:00 first pitch. But yeah, dude, I'm old. That Friday night 9:00, I might make 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Well, I hope to play a larger role in it. I would actually like to do, and we'll see if there's enough people. Maybe I'll put it to a poll after the show because it might garner more interest. But like some type of watch party or like a Twitter Spaces where like there is no video, so you don't have to worry about that. You just be chilling on the couch with a headset in, and you can actually let anybody talk. I don't know how many people watching now have done that, but it's kind of cool. Because we can kind of host it, but everybody can get the chance to talk. It's not just us on the podcast, on the video. It would be like an audio thing. And then you can come and go as you please. Marv, you're on there for 4 or 5 innings with us. Awesome. Just anybody can kind of jump in there. So maybe we'll do something like that. I was kind of fun. We did that. The Marshall guys with the Thundercast podcast did that for Marshall's late game against Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Louisiana during the tournament. They did it, and that was a late game, so there wasn't a ton of people on there, but it was still a bunch of fun, man. You get to talk and experience some people that you you may see their username, but you have no idea what they sound like or anything. So maybe we'll do something like that, something easy and quick to set up, but we'll have to see. Anyway, that is Friday night, 9 p.m. down there in Auburn. But the Saturday game should be much more enjoyable for all of us older guys, and we can stay awake for the whole one there as it starts at 3 p.m. Again, that's weather dependent. Hopefully we don't see as much. I don't really didn't have a ton of weather stuff this past weekend though. I think most games kind of started and went as they were supposed to.
I think there were certain sites, especially like down south. Like I think LSU had a couple delays, but everything ended on time. And I'm not sure what the weather's supposed to look like down there for this weekend. But a game 3 would be played on Sunday. That's a to be determined game time. Yes. I see this going 3 games. I don't see either team, getting two straight for a sweep in the first 2. But man, this is going to be a really good matchup. And Coastal's rolling, buddy. Their pitching, their pitching got them through the season, right? But the bats have woken up despite that 1-0 ECU game. But I'm really, really looking forward to watching this. I wish that was a 7 p.m. East Coast time first for the Friday night game. You're killing this, NCAA. You're killing us.
Yeah, I don't love it either. Artie says, I'll be watching the game on ESPN 8, the Ocho. I hope most people watching and listening are old enough to understand that reference. But actually, I mean, I guess you don't even have to be old enough at this point. They actually made it into a thing that they do like once a year, right? Where they do the
obscure sports on the Ocho.
Yeah. But when they first had that joke come up, I guess what was it on the Dodgeball movie? Right?
Dodgeball, yeah.
That's so great. Your writing and your creativity for a movie is so good that ESPN actually puts it into motion and does actual things with it. So, phenomenal stuff. To note, Auburn played quite a few teams the same as Coastal this year, and they also played quite a few NCAA tournament qualifiers. So they played and went up against Holy Cross, who was just in the Chapel Hill Regional. They went up against Troy, and we know that was a close game. That was a 7-6 victory for Auburn at home against Troy. And now, again, this isn't to the transitive property, right? We know it doesn't work, but we know what USM had done to Troy, and we know that Coastal looks like, they beat them in the championship game. So what does that mean, right? You just keep moving over the 1 and carry the 0, type of thing. Again, it doesn't really mean much. It was early in the season, so you don't really take a lot out of it, but it's something to note. They went up and had a series against Wright State. We saw what they've just done in postseason play. They beat them 3 straight in a sweep, ruled them twice early in the season. Went up against Ohio State just like Coastal Carolina did. They've gone up against Baylor. They played ODU, and they went 2-1 against ODU. So that's a note. That's a direct one there. Again, they played in the SEC, so I won't cover all of those. They went up head-to-head against South Alabama, beat them 13-5. Let's see. Oh, they did go up against Georgia Tech, which is interesting. A 9-8 victory over a ranked Georgia Tech team when they did win that one down there in actually that was in Atlanta.
Okay.
So they went on the road and beat a ranked Georgia Tech team, and we saw them end up in the tournament. Obviously, they're not making it to the super round, but they did go head-to-head and beat them 2 times. They actually hosted them down in Auburn as well. And I think that's pretty much going to do it, besides, again, their matchups with they played NC State in the regional and beat them 11-1. And NC State was a team that Coastal had played early in the season. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but and we'll get to some picks here in a minute. But we also wanted to cover Southern Miss, and here's their score. I mean, look at that's kind of crazy. Let's go back for just 2 seconds, right? This is Coastal's schedule for the weekend. 3 games, 3 straight wins, and now we look at the Hattiesburg Regional and see what Southern Miss had to do. They had to play in 5 games because of the loss in the first one, man. So I don't know. What were your thoughts on either their overall performance? You want to talk about specific games you got to check out at certain points? I'm not sure.
So I know from coaching baseball that coming out of the loser bracket is difficult, right? The best way to save arms and to be fresh and healthy is to stay in the winner's bracket. That goes out the window in game 1. The Alabama game was phenomenal. Really, really good game. The second game against Columbia, I don't think was ever in doubt. the first game against Miami, when that one gets done, you're like, man, all right, they're back on track. They're rolling. And then the last game, we've kind of already touched on that. 1-1 game. I think it was going into the fifth, maybe the sixth. Miami puts up.
You're right. I think it was the fifth.
Yeah, they just had Miami hit the ball really well. Once again, coming out of the loser bracket's hard. So to lose your first game against a team that everyone thought you would beat, and then rattle off 3 wins in a row, especially against Alabama, kind of felt like they had it going in the right direction. And just a really good game. We talked on the atmosphere. I don't think anyone that's a Southern Miss fan has to apologize for what people saw on national TV from their fans and what they put on there. But wish they could have won that game. It would be, going from a league that has had 4 teams in a regional the past couple of years to only having 2. Granted, they both got to host, having both go through to a super, I think just, not to us, but to maybe the rest of the country kind of re-solidifies, oh, crap, they play really good ball down there. Look at these 2 guys that got through. But, man, those guys should be happy. They had a hell of a season. They battled to the very end, and just wish they could have made it through.
Yeah, absolutely.
They would be hosting the Super.
Yes.
It would be the Louisville match. They would be hosting.
Yeah, that's why it hurt. I think from what I've seen, like this one stings a little bit more because of that, right? Like all you had to do was take care of your business, and then you get the Super that they didn't give you, right? Like you've earned it at that point. You've taken it. You've taken advantage of it. You're now playing at home a second time in the farthest you can go besides Omaha, obviously, but that's the next progressive step. And I think everybody was, in the roost and in the stands regularly. I think everybody was ready to take that one. And so
if you would have told me that if they would have beat Miami and you would have told me that they were hosting Louisville at home in a Super, if I was a Southern Miss fan, I'd be looking at flights to Omaha.
Yeah.
Nothing away from Louisville, but you got to think the home field advantage plays in a little bit. And, I think Southern Miss is a better baseball team than Louisville at the end of the day. But, playing 5 games versus 3 that Coastal played, just they used a lot of arms, especially in a tough game like the 6-5 game against Alabama. In that 5th game, you've thrown everybody. We were texting like, hey, you think Middleton pitches? I mean, he threw 90 pitches 2 days ago. I don't think he can go. It stinks. I would have loved their chances to make the World Series if they could have pulled that off against Miami and hosted the Super.
Yeah. And I think like you, like what could have happened had you won that first game on Friday? Like it changes so much, but it also is going to change your matchups, right? Like maybe they would have seen Alabama for the regional final, or maybe they wouldn't have got there. So I don't know. Everything could have changed more dramatically because instead of playing Columbia twice, had they beat them the first time, maybe they wouldn't have seen Columbia again, and they would have had to match up with Alabama and Miami, which they did do anyway. But
if they would have won that first game, it would have been Columbia, Alabama in an elimination game, and then Miami and Southern Miss in the 1-0 game. And who knows? They won the first matchup 17-6. You never really know what would have happened, but once again, being in the winners bracket and not having to play that extra game and have those extra arms really does make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on the Alabama game. That was probably my single favorite. Well, I don't know. That it's between that one and then the regional final between ECU and Coastal was like my favorite game of the weekend because I described this to somebody. I actually was Schultz from the Locked On podcast. We were messaging on Twitter, and he said, it wasn't the prettiest game, and I said, yeah, but like what was cool to me about the Bama and Southern Miss game was like it was a boxing match. Like each fighter was getting hits in, but nobody could deliver that knockout punch, right? Like it was always like, ooh, they took the lead, but it's only by a run or two, and then now they've battled back or they've tied it, and it was like this cat and mouse game, like who's going to end up on top in the end. And that's why this one was so much fun. And the Coastal ECU game was kind of like that. It's a little bit more of a pitcher's duel, obviously, like you said, 1-run game, but the atmosphere there made up for it, and the atmosphere for the Alabama game was great too. The Miami game, the first one was just awesome because what was it? I think it ended the first inning 10-0 already by the time that.
I was watching. I think the Coastal ECU game was going on at that same time, and you were texting the group, and you're like 6-0, 9-0. I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I mean, they got a lot of it out of the way early. But when you're fighting to make it to a regional final, because that was an elimination game for them.
Yeah.
And you put up 10 in the first. I mean, I could only imagine the electricity in that stadium during that first inning. It had to be pretty cool.
Oh yeah. It was definitely sounding like it was pretty cool. I do want to provide one clip that was awesome from the weekend, and I'm not sure how many people saw this. I don't think they had any of this on the broadcast, but I do want to jump over to this now and get you guys to hear what transpired when they were losing to Bama. This was in the Alabama game. They were down, if I can remember right, 1 or 2 runs at this point in the game, kind of later in the game. But just listen to this from a fan who was solving some puzzles up on the scoreboard and what he had to say before they went back to play.
Green eggs and ham.
Yes, you are correct. And number 3, let's see if we can get him 3 in a row.
Oh, that's definitely Alabama sucks. That's what it is. Let's go to the Miss.
Yeah. That
Do you think he was escorted out of the stadium after that?
He might have been. Because
that girl came out and took the microphone from him about as quickly as she possibly could.
Yes, she definitely did, and probably wanted to keep her job. So yeah, like just to go back though, I mean, they're down. He gets on the mic, solves this puzzle. It had nothing to do with Alabama. It wasn't like they were trying to be funny on the scoreboard. They were all these like word puzzles that were like little pictures kind of put together, like emojis. That's how I'll describe it. It's like emoji sentence, and you had to figure out what the saying was or what it was. Nothing to do with Alabama. It wasn't like they were trying to be cute. And this guy just says, "Oh, that's definitely Alabama sucks," and everybody was like, "Yeah!" And then he pumps up the crowd as he's walking back, and that girl runs out there on a little slight jog to go get that mic from him. And there you see it, win 6-5. Who knows if that's what sparked the little comeback that made the win, what it was, but an awesome moment. Again, it's like you said, this is part of the atmosphere stuff, right? Like, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure he told his buddies, like, hey, I provided that spark, right? That's all.
Yeah. Oh, if it was easy to find out who he was and where he's at, I would have asked him to come on the show and be like, you got to tell me whether you pre-planned that or like you're solving these puzzles and you're like, you know what? I don't care what this last one is. I'm going to say this, like how great would that be?
I hope it's option number 2. Spur of the moment.
I do too, man. I mean, if I had to pick one, that would be my favorite. So unfortunately, that'll do it for the clips for tonight. But I hope for those of you watching and listening that's something that you would like to see a little bit more of. We would like to do that a little bit more. I've been practicing on trying to get in and out of those things a lot smoother. So hopefully that's something that we can continue to provide as we go along here. And now we'll take a look at the rest of the regionals. As we know, we've talked about a little bit. Louisville is hosting the Super against Miami, who came out of the Hattiesburg one. UTSA is traveling all the way over to UCLA. That's a matchup that people are going to trip over all weekend, trying to not say those two schools too fast there. We have Arkansas hosting Tennessee, Auburn hosting Coastal Carolina, as we know, obviously. North Carolina hosting Arizona, another cross-country travel. LSU hosting West Virginia. Interesting one there. Yeah. Duke hosting Murray State. We're going to talk about that one real specifically here in a second for a couple reasons. And Oregon State, a team that some people questioned, what they were doing hosting spots in the first place, is still going, and they host Florida State, another cross-country win. But talk to me about Duke. How the hell are they hosting at that crappy facility that they have in Durham, North Carolina?
I don't have a clue. First of all, ton of respect for Coach Pollard. So for anyone that doesn't know, Coach Pollard was at App State, took App State to a regional, almost went to a super regional, loss in the final. He left to go to Duke. Amazing baseball coach. For a private school with that kind of money, and I get the Cameron Indoor thing, right? That's nostalgia, that's legacy. I get that part of it. But if you've never been to Duke's baseball stadium, it is not up to par for the type of program that they are. And I always thought that to host, you had to have a nice facility. Dom, you and I have been there. It is not a nice facility. The field is nice. The stadium is old. outdated, not good view lines. There's no concessions. The bathrooms are porta potties. Duke deserves something better than that. If the Duke AD ever gets a clip of this, hey, dude, spend some of that money. Build them a new facility. You got a really good program. They deserve a lot better than what you're giving them. But, if you and I were talking earlier, so I get how they do it, right? If it was chalk, right, the 1 seed would host the 16, the 2, 15. And I get how that works. But just logistically, it would make a hell of a lot more sense to have Duke playing Carolina and Arizona playing Oregon State. We kind of talked about, do they want to avoid conference rivals playing each other? Well, you got Louisville and Miami playing. You got Arkansas, Tennessee. When you put the regionals together, you had to know that was an option. But if it was Duke and Carolina, obviously Carolina would be hosting, but Carolina's got the facility to do it.
Yes.
I think you looked right down the road from Duke is this beautiful ballpark where the Durham Bulls play, AAA team for the Rays. It is a amazing ballpark.
Yep.
Instead of Duke asking them to host, they're having ultimate frisbee at the DPAP, which that would be a much better site. Now with Murray State, I don't know how well they're going to travel, right? But if they had a bigger team that was going to travel, imagine a Coastal or an East Carolina or somebody else coming. That's not the venue to host this type of event. Just isn't.
What you said, I'll say it even in a smaller, shorter, condensed version. Their facility is garbage. I mean, it's really bad. Like you said, the biggest indicator is there is no bathroom. It's a porta-john. And guess what? The players have to use those too, from what I hear. They don't have their own separate bathroom. They come up from the dugouts and have to use the same porta-johns everybody else does. That's embarrassing. I hope at least for the regional or super regional here, they've at least got something down there closer to the field for those guys. But yeah, like you said, there is no concession stand. They pull out some carts and they have some food and drink available.
Popcorn.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not up to speed whatsoever. It's on a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
And the field looks great. Like you said, I mean, they just recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, I think, redid the whole field. So that's not the issue. The playing surface is fine, but the stands are just horrendous.
And I don't think they probably can't seat more than 1,500 people there. I mean, it's not a big place at all.
Yeah, I would assume that like Duke, because of the money aspect that they do have, they were okay with taking like a loss essentially to say, yo, we still want to host. Like, we'll pay you a fine to still have it here just so that we don't have to travel. I wouldn't be shocked at all about that, because there's no way the NCAA looks at that and goes, yes, this is an acceptable venue to have, big television crews at and traveling fans coming to, and we're putting this on national TV. Like, I'd be embarrassed if I was.
Look at all the teams that are hosting. Louisville, decent stadium. UCLA, good stadium. Arkansas, Auburn, North Carolina, LSU, phenomenal stadiums. And there's Duke's. And once again, not crapping on them at all. It's not the players' fault. It's not the coach's fault. They've got the area where if they were to tear down those old grandstands, if you will, like they could build something really nice there.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that's what they were doing when they played that season at the Durham Bulls Park. But no, they just redid the playing surface, which is really nice. But as a fan, like I said, the sight lines are terrible, and there's zero amenities, none.
Also to note, like, and you experienced this, like, there's not really a great parking situation there either. Now, it is college campuses, and throughout a lot of college campuses, there aren't the best situations, but there's like, even for like television crews and stuff, I don't think that would be, easy or enjoyable for them to navigate, because it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for them to get these big trucks up there with the satellites and all their equipment in and out. I mean, it's, most stadiums now have at least like an entrance and exit at multiple points. There is one spot for you at Duke to get in and out.
There's one way in, one way out, buddy. It's like it's like the not nice neighborhood in your town. One way in, one way out.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. All right. So, Marv, do you want to go first with some picks here? Or should I go first? Or should we just go, each of us do the line and then move down? What do you think?
Let's go line by line.
Okay.
We'll alternate picking. And since you are the host, I will give you – now, we could still pick the same, right? Like, just because you pick one doesn't mean I have to pick the other, right?
Yeah, we could pick the same. I think that's fine. If we had Seth here, I think we'd all pick whatever we wanted. So I think we can keep it that same way.
Louisville, Miami. Who you got?
Man, I'm going to give it to the host here. I think Southern Miss could have had another shot at Miami and beaten them. Had they had a different arm on the mound and just a little bit better luck batting. And I think Louisville might be able to provide that playing at home, making Miami travel for the second straight week.
I'm going to pick Miami. I think they're impressive to me. I know the record's not great. Neither one of those teams has over 40 wins. I think they have the least amount of wins of all teams remaining in the tournament. But I'm going to go Miami. I think they're riding a little bit of momentum, and I'm going to take Miami to go to Omaha.
Interesting.
Next
right.
match.
The U schools.
Yeah, I'm gonna go UCLA in that one. I think UTSA is a great team. I just think UCLA takes it. And I don't even think it's because they're playing at home. I just think they're a better overall baseball team.
Yeah, I mean, I think a more traditional program too, right? Across the board. I will favor them for being so far away. I mean, that's a decent travel from San Antonio. You're talking about the other side of Texas. Texas is the size of, well, many European nations put together. So, I mean, you're traveling a pretty good distance from UTSA all the way to UCLA. But, yeah, I just think UCLA's been there, done that, where UTSA's riding a high, and it's hard to keep that going. I'd probably favor UCLA even if UTSA was hosting, to be honest with you, though, because, again, the experience is going to mean something here, I think. But, yeah, we'll see. Okay, I guess I'm back up again, right? Is that how it's going? Arkansas hosting Tennessee. Man, I hate both of these teams. Oh, man. Arkansas struggled. They were the one last year and got knocked out by the Super, right?
Yes.
Or were they knocked out in the Supers, or did they make it to Omaha and just not win? I can't remember. I know they didn't.
I can't remember either. I do remember this year that they said Vanderbilt was the only number one seed that hasn't at least made it to a regional final. So
that's crazy.
That is nuts. Really nuts.
I think actually Tennessee was the one last year and won it all, and they were the first one to ever do that. I think that's what. So in 2 years with number ones, we've had some crazy stuff. I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Was LSU not number one the year before that when Skeens was the stud?
They might have been.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Who you taking? You going Pig Soooo, or are you going Rocky Top?
Man, I wanted to see. I don't like Wake Forest either, but I wanted to see Wake beat Tennessee just because I think Tennessee fans are more vocal and everything. Not that Arkansas is any better. Again, it's kind of the same thing. They're just annoying fan bases to me. But Arkansas playing at home, I thought that Tennessee didn't look great against Wake Forest, so I guess I'll lean Arkansas. They're playing at home. I'll lean on the home team again.
Gotcha. I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going Tennessee. I thought they looked really good in the regional, and they are who they are, right? Arkansas is a great team too. I didn't look this up. I'm sure they played each other this year. I'm not sure how that turned out, but I'm going Tennessee.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get your thoughts on a Sunbelt team, baby.
Buddy, this is a Sunbelt podcast. I'm going Coastal, man. I think Coastal. Oh my God, can I say this out loud? I think Coastal might be the best team in the country right now. 21 in a row, 21 wins in a row. Like there's you can't understate what that means. Their arms are as good as anybody's that you'll see in the country, and if their bats are anywhere close to where they were this last weekend, spare the last ECU game because that freshman kid from ECU came out and just threw a dime. I'd take Coastal. I think it goes all three games, but I'm taking Coastal.
I think I'm with you. I'm with Chance Up, who we got the shirt from there. And Bob, by the way, if they're still watching right this second, there was a lot of comments on the shirt as I walked around Conway when I wore this at the game. So even fans down there, they said they want to see this as the official logo for the baseball team. That's how good this thing is. And I agree. This is a phenomenal logo. So awesome thing right now. I'm obviously going to go with Coastal Carolina. Here's the thing I'll say as maybe a realist here, though. You said 21 wins in a row. It's okay if they lose one, right? Because sometimes in a loss, you learn something about yourself. Maybe that propels you to not lose again. So going 2-1 to get through this super down there in Auburn is perfectly acceptable as long as they can keep going all the way to Omaha. Who cares if they win every game 1-0? One run to 0.
I wonder if Banana Man makes an appearance in Alabama this weekend.
We'll have to get in contact and see. I know that he had a little bit of help getting down to Conway because he was back up in Kentucky, and TJ's jumping in there. There is no team remaining, or in general, that can go head-to-head with their pitching staff. Coastal will have the arms to beat anyone. All comes down to the bats, which look great in Conway. Yeah, except for, like Marv said, except for that one game against ECU and that. You said he was a freshman pitcher too?
Yeah, the kid was in high school last year and hadn't really pitched in a ton of games. I think that was only like his 9th appearance. Maybe it was his 9th start. But, the funny thing, going back to ECU for a second, is the kid that they pitched against Florida to get that championship game was also a freshman.
Really?
In the second Florida game, not the first Florida game.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they have 2 stud freshman arms. But, yeah, he was lights out. And like Sully said, Coastal Carolina's arms are as good as anybody's in the country. I think their bats were a little lackluster for stretches of the season, but they've got hot at the right time, and they're going to need to stay hot in Auburn. But I don't know. I feel like Coastal. I feel like Coastal's the best team in the country right now.
Yeah. One more note on that. We had Sebastian on, who had a pretty good weekend for them overall, but it's one of his after the game interviews. I guess it was after the regional final when they said, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to celebrate? And he goes, first of all, they had to reiterate the question like 3 times because it was so loud with everybody celebrating in the stands and behind him and everything. So that was cool. But when he finally got to answer the question, he goes, I mean, I don't know, man, but as long as I'm with my guys, I don't care what it is. Like, this is a team, this is a family. And when you have that kind of atmosphere and playing for each other happening in every aspect, right? Like, this is the celebration now. He didn't say, I'm going to go home with my girlfriend or, my parents and we're going to go out to dinner and stuff. Like, no. He wanted to be with his guys. So when you have that kind of camaraderie, it means a lot moving forward. It's going to mean a lot of things to this team as they go on the road to play Auburn. So hopefully.
Hey, look at the way their coach took up for their field crew. Like, you want to talk about, I mean, I think in the passion that he had, like, go play for that guy, right? Taking Coastal, man, once again, not obligated to do it just because we're the syndicate and it's the Sunbelt show. I truly believe that right now Coastal Carolina is playing the best baseball in the country.
Yeah, and just a fun team to watch too, just as one last little note too. I mean, they're just enjoyable to watch play the game of baseball. Okay, right down the street from me, North Carolina hosting Arizona. I guess like it is up to me, first pick, right?
This is your pick.
Oh man, I hate this one. But I think I've leaned this way in everything, so it's probably going to be way wrong. But I'm leaning towards the home team in these long travel distances. But again, Coastal's. North Carolina is another program that is historical when it comes to baseball. They have a precedent set. I expect them to continue their winning. I was shocked when they got blown out by Oklahoma to have to go to the second game, game 7 there. I expected them not to have to be put in that position, but once they showed up and they demolished Oklahoma in that last game. So I expect that to continue. Who you got in this Wildcats versus Tar Heels matchup?
Man, my grandfather's going to roll over in his grave. Taking the Tar Heels. They looked really, really good. Like their bats were really hot. Yeah. Like you said, perennial power, historical baseball program. They're hosting. Their facility's phenomenal, by the way. So yeah, I'm going with the Tar Heels.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us like that, but we're being realistic here. All right, you're up again. LSU versus West Virginia.
West Virginia is a really good baseball team that surprised a ton of people this year. I think at one point towards the end of the season, they only had 5 losses. I think as they've started playing some more top-heavy opponents, I think they're at 12 losses now, but going down to Baton Rouge is going to be a little bit of a rude awakening for the Mountaineers, I believe. I think LSU takes that in 2.
Oh, wow. Okay. And no, one of those West Virginia losses was probably to those Marshall Thunder and Herd.
Yeah, it was. And a phenomenal game, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a really good game. And, Marshall was playing great baseball at that point in the season too. But LSU's just, they're a top 10 program year in, year out for a reason, 2 years removed from a national championship. My oldest son Mason. If you ask him right now, if you make it D1 baseball, where do you want to play? That's where he wants to play. Just because it's going to be that place is going to be just insane.
Yeah, definitely insane down there in the box. No concern or worry with how much of a fight they had to put up against Little Rock to move on. A former sunbelt member, by the way,
and also a team with a losing record that came in. Yeah, Little Rock was 27-33 coming into that. North Dakota State had only had 20 wins, by the way, and ended up winning a game too. Now, I think it just goes to prove that if a team gets hot and they're playing with house money, you got nothing to lose. Nah, that doesn't concern me too much at all.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take LSU, but I think West Virginia steals a game. However, TJ is saying he would not be surprised to see the Mountaineers take the series. Just an intense, scrappy baseball team. I haven't been keeping up with West Virginia as much. Obviously, I had a little fun when Marshall got some revenge for that hideous loss they had to them at home earlier in the season, right, where they stole home to win the game on a walk-off steal. Like
I said, West Virginia is a good baseball team. They surprised a lot of people. I mean, they were not ranked. Like, no one was talking about them coming into the season. And all of a sudden, you look up and you're like, holy crap, they're 32-5 or whatever they were at that point. I don't think they've seen arms and bats like they're going to see in Louisiana. I don't think they can keep up.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, again, with the home team hosting, like the heat, the humidity, is that going to be something West Virginia guys really feel when they're down there? And I'm thinking they will, because it's just, Marv, you're right here down the street from me, not too far. I mean, it's gotten humid here quick.
It has not been that hot here this year, which is great, because I know next weekend, probably when we play our big tournament, it's probably going to be 94 degrees with 95% humidity, and all the kids are going to be out there dying. But I don't know. I just, once again, I'm going LSU, perennial power. I would not be shocked if West Virginia took a game. I would be shocked if they won the series.
Yeah.
My take.
Yeah, I guess I'd be shocked. Like you said, it's the history and tradition of LSU to think that would push them through, if anything, is a big, determining factor, everything else being equal.
Your favorite host site, man. Who are you taking?
Yeah. Favorite host site, Duke hosting Murray State. I'm going to ruin the fun here. I would love to see Murray State win, but I don't think they're going to. I think Duke is a really good baseball team. They didn't have the greatest of years. I'm not saying, they were blowing it out of the water. Didn't have the year that some people thought they might have, but they're still good enough to host a super. And the little guy in Murray State is awesome. It's a fun story. Like I said, I'd love to be wrong and see it continue, but I'm taking Duke with money.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all there. Murray State, if I'm not mistaken, Murray State made a run maybe last year or the year before. This isn't uncharted territory for them, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they've never made it to a super. This is the first time they've ever made it to a super.
Okay, got it. But they've been in the regionals the past couple years, if I'm not mistaken, and taken some games. I think they made it to a regional final then. You and I have seen Duke live. Some grown men playing there. They got big dudes. They're going to bring 5 guys out of the bullpen that all throw 93 to 95. And once again, Murray State taking nothing away from a mid-major team. Just have you seen arms and bats like that consistently over a weekend, and can you keep up? And I don't think they can.
No, I'm with you. I don't think they have. Again, it's kind of like UTSA with UCLA. It's kind of that same thing. Like you just got all this crazy momentum right now, and you're riding on this high, and it's hard to kind of separate that from getting back into the business mode of like, we're going here to win. Because I don't disagree. Like, you have to enjoy these things. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they're enjoying it, but it's hard to get kids that are still young men to like mindset totally switch. Okay, we did that for this past weekend. We had fun while we were back around home. It's time to get back on the road and go back to business mode. Listen,
if you're Murray State, though, you got to think, okay, we won more games this year than Duke. Everyone's going to make the argument, well, you didn't play in a good of a conference, but you got to play who you got to play, right? You don't get to choose who your conference mates are. But Duke didn't have a national seed. It's not like you're going into some overwhelming home field environment.
No, that's true.
If you want to talk about, do they have a chance? Yeah, they do. If they win, I will not be shocked. to be completely honest with you. But I'm going to take Duke just because I think recruiting wise, they probably have the better players, quote unquote. But it's a team sport, right? You got the right guys rolling the boat in the right direction. You can do amazing things. So wouldn't be surprised if Murray State wins, but I'm going to pick Duke. The last one is probably the one that's given me the most thought-invoking process of my day. I don't know a lot about Oregon State, but I know they've been highly ranked the entire season. Florida State is literally traveling across the world to get there. You're talking about Florida, Panhandle, Florida, to Pacific Northwest. That is a long, long, long travel. Man.
Here, while you're thinking about it, one more note. That Murray State logo that they have, phenomenal. On a baseball hat, that thing is sweet. I'll stay that. All right, go back to your thing.
And I'm literally making this pick as I'm talking. I am going to take Oregon State just because of the travel and because they're at home. It's the 8-9 matchup, right? Like this is this is the most balanced numerical matchup of the Supers. I'm going to take Oregon State, and I have zero good reasoning or rationale behind that. Outside of
I'll go the exact opposite for my first pick against a home team, really, besides Coastal and Auburn. But I will go with Florida State. This is so funny. You were like, do we have to pick the other one if one of us picked? It's pretty much how we did it without trying. There was only like 2 or 3 that we picked the same team. But I'll go Florida State. I mean, I think coming into the season they were expected to be really good, and they've kind of stayed very, very similar all along through the season. They had their little rough spots here and there, but a very good baseball team. Oregon State, I mean, traditionally, yes, baseball school out there. It's just, it's probably an East Coast bias. I'll just be honest with that. Like I hear and see as well. Yeah, I hear and see Florida State more often, so it's just it's playing a bigger role in my head. So I'll go with the Seminoles. Also, we saw how badly they dismantled JMU in that first series of the year, so it's hard to get that out of your head. I know Oregon State.
That's also JMU had us fooled. We all were coming off of the season they had the year before. JMU was not a very good baseball team this year.
No, they weren't. And they lost a lot to credit. Like it's not like they all of a sudden got bad with the same guys. They did lose a lot of players, but
they did. Yeah, you're correct about that. I don't know a lot about Oregon State. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a lot about Florida State either, but that is a long way to travel.
Yeah. Sully's got another note for the Duke program. Last step for Chris Pollard's program to make it to Omaha. They beat Coastal in 23 to make it to the Supers, and this is the best path to Omaha out of all of the Supers. So, yeah, I mean, this is I guess it's a really good chance for that one.
Yeah, but once again, would I be surprised if Murray State came in and took that series? If Coastal were to get eliminated and Murray State would advance, I'm all in on Murray State and Omaha. You got no skin in the game, right? But I think TJ's right. I mean, Coach Pollard's a heck of a baseball coach, and this is the last step for him is to make it to Omaha. Obviously, the ultimate step's to win, but you got to think how many Division I baseball teams start the year at 0-0, and only 8 get to go to Omaha. So that is his next step.
Yeah. Then we'll end with that kind of beginning question that I said. That's one of the reasons I think that postseason baseball may be the hardest to win. Like what sucks about football in a sense is that you have one shot, right? You have one game. That's it. Anything can happen. There's injuries, all kinds of stuff. Basketball is long. They play the most kind of games out of anybody, I feel like, if you make it all the way to the end. And that's also a one-and-done game. But I feel like momentum helps you a little bit more with basketball. You've got a lot of the same crew going every single game, right? Like you're starting 5 or you're starting 5. Again, injuries occur, of course. But baseball is like you have to trust that your best pitcher can get it done, your second best pitcher can get it done, your third, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different things, and you don't even go in with the same lineup every time. So I'm starting to lean towards like baseball being the hardest postseason to win, even though in this one is the only one in the NCAAs anyway that you can afford to have a loss and still continue on. But it makes sense. Again, you're not getting to see your best pitcher every time. So you have to kind of build that in. I feel like it's kind of a fair way to really evaluate where all these teams are and give everybody a fair chance. How do you tie in baseball? I don't know. Well, you can't tie in this.
It's happened, and not in this, but we've seen it happen in conferences. It's what was it? App a couple years ago. It was like the 13th inning, and there's minimum travel requirements back home. So you have to. The game has to end at a certain time. Great question, Dominic. I don't think you should be able to tie in anything, including soccer or hockey. There should never be a tie, but it happens.
Oregon State tied Iowa this year. Yeah. I think there was another one in like the ACC or SEC, and it's kind of crazy how many people don't know that can happen. But again, like Marv, you said, it's not really supposed to happen. It's happening because of cutoff times for travel to get back home, which with the way these conferences are anymore, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
You're traveling across the country. Like, these kids aren't in good shape when they show up anyway. You know, when like Stanford comes over here to play UNC in baseball or whatever. I think that's Big Ten, right? No, wait, is Stanford in the ACC now, right?
Yeah, somehow I guess the commissioner just doesn't own a map and doesn't realize that the Atlantic Coast Conference is on a different side of the country. But yeah, they are. Them in California, the Golden Bears are in the Atlantic Coast Conference, even though they are situated very clearly on the Pacific Coast.
Yeah, insanity, and it probably doesn't get any better unless maybe some of these schools and conferences finally split off. Yet DJ calling it the All Coast Conference. Yeah,
at least when like the SEC and Big Ten took programs that were further away, they got good programs, right? Like I don't think any true ACC fan was like, yeah, we got Stanford and Cal. That makes everything better now. Or
if I'm the ACC members, I'm actually way more excited to SMU, right? Like, Dallas, first of all, that's a pretty big city, pretty cool place to go. Probably
that was the argument for the West Coast teams is you're going to get more eyeballs on the West Coast. No, maybe, there might be some validity to that, but I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's we've had this conversation before about the money grab that college athletics is. I think baseball might be a little bit more sheltered from that than football and basketball are. But it's just honestly, you've got California is putting a team on an airplane several times a year to come play baseball, softball, soccer on the East Coast. Like, that's the biggest waste of money on the face of the earth.
Yeah, there's literally pro organizations and leagues out there that regionalize to avoid those types of things. You know, like the NFL still has somewhat regionalized. There's some outliers, of course, but for the most part, you've got, was it the NFC East Dallas is the outlier there, but everybody else is kind of up in that northeast corner to some extent.
The NFL also brings in a slightly higher revenue than
just a little bit.
Most college sports. I'd love to see the numbers. College football probably brings in stupid money, and I know the NCAA tournament in basketball brings in a ton of cash, but I don't think women's softball and men's soccer or lacrosse or even baseball is bringing in those kind of dollars where you can justify. I don't want to know what the travel budgets are for those two schools to go back and forth. I mean, it's got to be insane. Yeah.
And I mean, I just tell you as a person, and you travel as well for sales and calls and everything else. Like I do it sparingly and I don't love it, but these kids are doing it like back-to-back weeks, a couple times a month, many times a season. Like, it just, no, thank you. You can't ever eat or sleep well when you're doing that stuff. It's just not enjoyable. So I feel for them. Hopefully we can get some common sense back in athletics and kind of go backwards. I don't think it's going backwards. I think it's progressive, but going backwards in a sense, and see if we can make some more sense out of this stuff. And so he's ending off with the Pac-2. Speaking of that Pac-2, this Pac-2 is about to bid you adieu. I don't know if I just rhymed all of that together, but yes, thank you for joining us. Again, maybe we'll do a little watch party for the game. Coastal down there, 9 p.m. Eastern time, but remains to be seen. Any final thoughts, Marv, before we get out of here?
Man, go Coastal. Put a sunbelt team into Omaha. Let's get it.
Let's do it. We want to have stuff to watch and somebody to cheer for. So go Coastal. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.